Okay, guys. I don't expect. I've only just. I don't expect to be getting many people in the live chat for this one today, and the reason being, I'm talking sport, which is. I know a lot of people in this community couldn't give a shit one way or another about. Okay, but I do. Especially football. It's not sort of. Most people in this community couldn't give a shit one way or the other. I understand that. However, the thing with this, I do happen to enjoy football, and obviously, the big news involving football over the last couple of days is the this proposed European Super League, and and of course, what this might mean for football. And I'm with most fans on this. I think it is a really, really bad, will be really bad for football. Now, I not under the illusion that football is sort of some sort of sacred and equal competition as it is now. It's absolutely not. It is a the richer clubs do sort of have a bit of monopoly as it is. But I think this is because this thing is a really this to me is almost setting the blueprint for almost sort of like an American style major sports league where you will have essentially essentially what it will the end game of this is this, that you will have a European major league where with no promotion relegation with the bit sort of like say Major League Baseball or whatever, if a team finishes bottom of their particular division in a Major League Baseball, they're not out of the league or anything. No minor league team gets promoted or anything. I think that's a bad thing. Now, as we know, we've got 12 clubs that have already signed letters of intent to join this thing. 6 from England, 3 from Spain, 3 from Italy. 3 from Italy: Juventus, Inter Milan, AC Milan. In Spain, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid. In England, Manchester United, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Tottenham Hotspur. So the proposal is to get at least the first 15 teams that sign up for this thing will have this as a they will have this every year as a rite of passage. Okay, now let me gather my thoughts a second on this. Here's the thing. Okay, now this they're saying that they want to make up to 20 teams, and the other 5 would be be based on domestic competition qualifying and so on. But that would not be it long term. That would just not be sustainable long term. I do not believe. This is a grab for this will eventually end up. This will end up being a breakaway league, and these clubs will, I believe, would have to ultimately break away from their own domestic competition so this thing to work. Now, I want to point that out here. Currently, if let's say one of these teams, let's say Liverpool or something, was to win, go all the way to the final of the current Champions League as it stands, okay? That would add around about another 13 or so games to the season. Now, with this thing, there will be at least a minimum of 18 games a season. Okay, this is the idea. So the idea that long term that they would would intend to stay in the Premier League or something, or at best the Premier League would become a secondary competition where you would not see the best players put out for that or anything. It's absolutely it's absolutely ridiculous. And I mean, and I use the American Major League analogy because when I look at some of the teams, of course, the Glazer family, who I think it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or whatever, that they are major sports. And Liverpool, of course. Now, for my sins, I say when it comes to American baseball, I kind of like the Boston Red Sox, but their owners are in this up to their neck as well because they're the people that own Liverpool Football Club. This is really, this is a monopoly that would be formed here. There's no two ways about it. This would be an absolute fucking monopoly of these clubs. I mean, the fact is that at least. All right, I'll actually point something out to you, Mark, on this one as well. 18 games a season would just be the regular season of this. Okay, the plan is to divide this into 2 groups of 10. They would play each other twice. So there's 18 games. Then you're talking 2-leg quarterfinals, 2-leg semis, and the actual final. So you're actually adding well over, you'd be adding well over 20 games, close to something like 25 games a season to actually get to the final of this thing. Now I've got to remember these clubs, these are the very same clubs who have complained for years now about how many games they have to play in the Champions League. So I think this is absolute crap that they would want to actually remain in their domestic competitions for any longer. Now, I understand the business moves around it. I mean, I think I could see this thing becoming more and more possibly being more of a traveling circus kind of thing, which would take football out of the cities involved. And the reason I think that it is they are looking to get into the Asian markets and so on. This thing I believe would become more of a traveling circus in time. That's just my opinion on that. Because I honestly think even though it might sound, if let's say you're a Liverpool fan, that it might sound really like great, hey, we get to play the likes of Real Madrid or Juventus like on a weekly basis kind of thing. That is as a novelty will wear thin after a while. Now, I still think attendance would never be a problem at any of these matches. I have no question about that. I do not think attendance will be a problem. The thing you've got to remember of this is where a lot of other sports franchises around the world, say in America, would be a good example, is a lot of them with live attendance. What they really want to get is almost like the tourist markets or whatever into their stadiums. And because the season ticket holders, whatever, and they're not going to, they might buy their, club shirt or whatever at the start of the season, that sort of thing. You're a load of, like sort of fleeting tourist kind of trade with sports franchise. The thing is, they will basically spend money. They will spend money when they attend games. Okay, if they're only going to attend one game there or something, you guarantee they're going to spend money on merchandise, and that's from a live attendance perspective. This is why I think they would have to almost make this some sort of traveling circus, because honestly, that it's or make this some sort of an appeal to tourism kind of thing. Now, I got to be honest. I feel like with the governing bodies of football, as it is anymore, I have long wanted to see the power of FIFA and UEFA broken, because they are absolutely corrupt. But I think what this is kind of doing is setting it up for something that is going to be even worse. It's it will be worse in the long run for football. Now, several clubs, of course, have not signed up for this thing yet. I think the other 3 big names on this, I think, would be Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, probably Paris Saint-Germain. Now, Paris Saint-Germain, I think I think there's some political reasons why they may stay loyal to UEFA in this, as it is anyway. And I think with the Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, or something. I think again, there's been proposed reforms to the Champions League as it is, that they're kind of somewhat seem to be satisfied with here. Let's have a little look at what I had written in front of me now. I know it says it's not designed, like I said, the proposed competition would effectively destroy UEFA's Champions League, which is they said that with the most marketable clubs no longer competing. Now, in a lot of ways, I feel the Champions League has just gone more and more towards those bigger clubs as time has gone on anyway. Now, and I think the first sign of that would have been when it really stopped actually being the Champions League. Now, and it started to be these sort of top 3 or 4 clubs from England, Italy, Spain, France, Germany, whoever, kind of getting into this. Now, I mean, there's some great clubs you used to see playing regularly in European football that do not, you do not see in that competition now, but it used to be very competitive. Talking about the likes of the Rapid Vienna's, Hajduk Splits, Gothenburg, for example, Malmö, just to name a few off the top of my head, Grasshopper Zurich, always, used to be fairly competitive clubs in European competition. Most of these clubs, you don't even see them in the Europa League, the secondary European competition, the Europa League now. From leagues such as like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Croatia, wherever it may be. You'll probably still see the Greek teams, a couple of the Greek teams, generally Olympiakos, Panathinaikos, that is, and top 2 or 3 maybe from Turkey, like Besiktas, Galatasaray, Fenerbahce. You might see, but it has almost, in a lot of ways, it has that competition as it has been is already catering to these big clubs, and it is I think really this is an absolute power play by them right now for even more, in my opinion. This is absolutely a power play. It will absolutely, and like I said, this will destroy domestic competitions, because even if they stay in the domestic leagues like the Premier League, La Liga, whatever it may be, that will become those teams will be that will become a secondary competition. Now, we've got something in England called the League Cup, which most of the top flight teams do not take seriously unless they happen to maybe get to the semi-final. Then they start putting their big players out, kind of thing. So that is ultimately what will happen to domestic competitions. They will become secondary. You will not see the elite level players there. And more, of course, more and more, if this thing succeeds, if this thing becomes an actual thing, the money involved in that is going to be quite is going to really gonna kill the other clubs in these leagues. Now, I mean, it's become bad enough, I think, in English football over the lot since the formation of the Premier League, which was in itself somewhat of a breakaway from the old Football League. That it did slant things very much in favourite of the top flight teams. And the level of the absolute level of money compared is quite ridiculous. However, it is still theoretically possible that a club from the bottom league can reach the top flight and maybe even the top levels of European competition. Not only that, it has actually happened. It has happened. We've seen it go both ways and whatever. Now, not just down the road for me. Portsmouth, for example, they came up from, I think, the second tier won a trophy, got into European competition and so on. Then, of course, because they had not managed themselves financially very well, they kind of ended up right in the bottom tier, and they're only just starting to get, but they've moved up another tier since then. But let's have a little look at the chat there. Let's have a little look in the chat. African humorist. Well, yeah. I will say Chelsea are one of the ones involved in this shit, by the way. And I mean, in a weird way, you got to remember some of these clubs. Okay, were not not really what I'd call. I'd say Chelsea for maybe 25 years have been what I'd call a big team in a sense. I mean, they were quite regularly a bit of a yo-yo team between the top flight and the second tier for a large part of their existence. And probably in the mid 90s, first with the Matthew Harding money, and then really when Roman Abramovich came in, that we were talking silly money. Manchester City, even more sort of rarely so. I mean, Manchester, since the formation of the Premier League, Manchester City are the only ones of those toxics that have at any point actually been relegated from the top flight. That's happened a couple of times, I think, at least. I mean, they actually went down. I mean, in the mid 90s, they actually went down to the third tier of English football for a while there. Before sort of kind of coming back up. But of course, this was before the big, money from the UAE that came in. Yeah, I'd imagine so, Esther, as well. And I know there's a lot of there's been a lot of should we say young. I know that there's been some scandals in Africa of a lot of young guys being sold on getting football contracts and whatever, and have been cons on that. That's another story for another time, I think. So yeah, okay. Historic guy with Liverpool, Matt. Okay, I know that's supposed to be Liverpool. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. A lot. I mean, obviously these clubs, these clubs owners. Now, I know for a second they are detached from their fan, and I think even I think most football club owners are detached from their fans completely. Absolutely, they are. Probably, more so. I mean, some of these people wouldn't have a problem liquidating these club, their football club. Now, I mean, the owners of the club I support, Southampton. I mean, it's a Chinese firm that owns it, and I almost feel like they are owning it to curry favour with the Chinese regime at the moment, because there was a big push in China to develop football and for China to become a world power, and I could see that. So a lot of Chinese firms they spent a lot of money on their quote unquote Super League there, and some Chinese firms obviously bought into major football teams across Europe. and I mean, not that I'm putting Southampton on the same living level as Manchester United, Liverpool, because then it's not. They're really financially, they're nowhere near it. Now, it is, but it is theoretically possible that you could have that kind of investment in a club, like say a Southampton, that would make them competitive in that top. It is theoretically possible. Highly unlikely, for a number of reasons, but it is possible. This European Super League would absolutely kill that. It would absolutely kill that because no one's, it. Now, I don't know what sort of structures there would be on televising or whatever. Now, I think what a part of this is part of the issue with this is I think that what these clubs are almost trying to do here, they would maybe whether they own their own TV rights or subscription services. I don't know what their actual plan is going forward. Okay, but I've got a feeling that is more the model that they are going to want to go with. And so I guess my reaction to this, in all honesty, is pretty damn much the same as most football fans on this. To be honest, that we don't want to see this. I agree that I do definitely think the current governing bodies of football, UEFA and FIFA are, I in a way, I'd like to see their power broken. I absolutely would like to see their power broken because they're absolutely. I mean, FIFA in particular, especially under the previous regime, I'm not convinced it's gotten much better here. I mean, FIFA could, could really pretty much be described as an organised crime syndicate. To be honest, they were that bad. I'm not convinced much has changed since then. And I mean, we got this. I mean, we've got this lot of absolutely ridiculous thing of a World Cup in Qatar, and we know all the shit that's happened there. But I, as much as I'd like to see the power of these things broken, it's this is not what I want to see in its place because this is just going to be worse. Now, I kind of think maybe there's some truth to this, Dave, that I think possibly that they maybe this is a power play to bend UEFA to their will a little bit. But this is the thing; they kind of already did this. They'd already done this. UEFA. I mean, they already were proposing, doing reforms, going to do reforms on the Champions League. Okay. Which would have benefited these clubs anyway. So at this point, you just got to say this is pure fucking greed. It is pure fucking greed. Do I think footballers deserve so much money compared to healthcare work? No, of course I don't. Of course I don't. But I don't know. It's almost a bit of a reality of the industry that you're in professional sports or whatever. That that's kind of the way it works. I mean, and this is perhaps where I differ sometimes from certain other football fans who get mad at footballers for not staying loyal to clubs like say a Southampton or a Bournemouth or West Brom, whoever it may be. Okay, because I think generally, if you get, I mean, generally speaking, I think most people, if they had a job offer, to go and do the exact same job they're doing already for like 5 times as much money as they're currently getting paid, I think most people would probably do that. Yeah, I don't think yeah, I don't think they deserve as much money. Of course they don't. It is the reality of professional sports, though. It really is. And I mean, yeah, I mean, it is. It is that. I mean, sport is the entertainment industry. It absolutely is. And yeah, you're pretty much right, Dave. I'm screaming. I'm as far as this community goes. I'm pretty much screaming into the void because most people on here, you know, my followers, whatever, couldn't give a flying fuck about sports in general anyway. Okay, I happen to enjoy sport. Um, but I do. I just don't see this as a positive thing. I think this is. It's gone. It's almost. I don't think we can put. I don't necessarily know we can necessarily put the genie back in the bottle of how far and fucked up football has become already since the formation of the Premier League. And I've got to say, listen, I'm not above. I'm not saying sports need to modernise. Of course they do, because I mean, you've seen some of the blimmin' you've seen some of the Premier League and so on. So, you know, you look at some of the grounds in the start of the Premier League, where they are now. You know, for example, and we still had this. You know, we still sort of had the shitty terracing and crowding, and violence in the stadiums and whatever. So, of course, you know, stuff like that needed to change. You know, but sometimes, you know, I suppose bad change comes with the good, I suppose. But I feel like this is a step too far for me personally. This has gone far enough now. What else was I going to say now? Dave, what did Dave say in the chat earlier? I caught it, but didn't get around to it. Okay. Are you sure about this? Because I can't. I'm going to say I haven't seen anything about this, Dave. So I haven't seen anything about Klopp leaving Liverpool. I don't know if that's true or that's just like one of these little rumours on the internet right now. Because so I have no idea on that one. It's the first I've heard of it. Now, now, I did see there's been another statement on this from a few minutes ago. Now, apparently, FIFA is now warning people that you can't be half in and half out. Basically, he said to these clubs, basically, you're either in this other thing or you're not. Now, whether or not they would play their big trump card, which would be banning players from taking part in international competition, that could be the hammer blow against that could definitely be a hammer blow against the Super League if they do that, because if it's even a lot of, there's one thing that top level players, I think, even if when money's a thing, a lot of them still want to play international football. You know, a lot of them want to play in the World Cup for the World Cup for all its bloody. I mean, and to be honest, hey, almost in a certain way here. Again, I'd like to see FIFA's. I mean, I've also got mixed feelings on this now because, hey, you know what if there's another governing body that does their own World Cup, I don't know here, but I just on the surface of this don't like where this is going. I really don't. And it's not going to be a good thing for football. This is going to be a good thing for the particular clubs involved. Okay, It is not going to be a good thing for football. This is not even if it's going to appeal to fans on a more on a global basis. What it's not going to do is help. It's not going to help develop football in other nations. There will be no fucking motivation for it to develop club football in a lot of these nations. It's been bad enough in Europe now with the Champions League that we have seen teams from leagues that used to be very competitive, not you don't see in the top European competitions anymore. Lots of big name teams. I mean, so yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. I don't know necessarily that within a lot of the sports that are in Australia, whether that I don't know the biggest sports I know of in Australia are probably rugby league and cricket. I don't know that there's anywhere near the kind of stupid amounts of money in either the NRL or in cricket anywhere. I think the biggest money in cricket is probably the IPL. But that would definitely be a motivational factor if FIFA threatened to play that card. UEFA sound like they already have threatened to play that card. And in a way, there's two ways of feeling about that, because you feel, okay, that's punishing some of these players because they happen to be contracted to these clubs. Okay, so, and it's a sad thing in a sense that, in a way, because most of the players I've seen are probably not in favour of this thing either. So it may be a little bit unfair on them, but I could quite easily see that football players will become collateral damage in these things if FIFA and UEFA are really serious about shutting this thing down. This has happened, but this has happened before in other sport, like baseball, like the Players League and the Federal League was kind of almost shut down and by the existing leagues, back in the day. I mean, we are talking a long time ago there, and it was and a lot of the controversy there was more around was more of a kind of class-based sort of a labor-related issue with not just pay, but a kind of the reserve clause that used to be in baseball, which was pretty damn close to a form of indentured servitude in a way for, but that was something. So, I mean, so the motivations behind some of those things have been different. I remember, I don't know if Mark can comment on this at all, because I did see this. Someone on Twitter made a little bit of comparison with rugby league with the battle in the mid-90s between in Australia between what is, I suppose, now still the NRL and the Super League, which Rupert Murdoch was. I know that did a lot to drive up wages of rugby league players in Australia, but the Super League itself didn't last very long. Now, in British rugby league, the Super League is still a thing because I don't think they had much. They didn't have, they desperately needed the cash at the time, so there was no real fight on that from them. So, so I think there's some different factors I think in play here, but because this seems to be the owners of what this tends to. What I see, that this is the owners of some very, very big football clubs that are making this power play. And I mean, in a way as well, I find this ridiculous that, in a way, the fact that you're seeing 3 big teams from Italy now. Now, the Italian league over the last 10, 15 years or so has not been anywhere near as competitive. Inter Milan are part of this thing. My team has beaten Inter Milan within the last 10 years. Okay, Southampton has beaten fucking Inter. Have beaten fucking Inter Milan. You know, I think Portsmouth held AC Milan to a fucking draw, for fuck's sake. So I find this a bit weird. And some of the clubs in it, I mean, some of the other clubs in Italy who have been regularly getting into Champions League spots or whatever are being cut out this thing, like Atalanta, for example, who have been more competitive. I mean, Juventus have dominated Italian football over the last 10 years. Inter and AC have been miles behind for a long time. It's kind of ridiculous that, and I find this a similar thing to me with some of the British clubs. And Arsenal, who are ninth in the Premier League right now, and have not qualified over the last 5 years, have very seldomly qualified for the Champions League, feel that they have a God-given right to be in the elite in this elite league. Come on, give me a break. I mean, it's ridiculous to me. I mean, if I look at the Premier League table, yes. Now, if I look at them, okay. Let's look at the Premier League table as is right now. Okay. In the top 6, okay, there are 4 in the top 6. Okay, 4 of those teams are in the top 6. Okay, it's currently stands as Manchester City, and yeah, they are well up in front. Then United second. In third, Leicester City. In fourth, West Ham United. Chelsea are fifth. Liverpool not in the top 6. Tottenham are 7. Tottenham's Arsenal are down in 9th. Level on points with Leeds United right now, and only and I'm going to say, have a look at this. My club's only 10 points behind them. Theoretically speaking, we could go at, we not likely, but theoretically speaking, we could finish above Arsenal this season. They get, and the idea they have a God-given right to be in the elite of this in any kind of elite league is ridiculous to me. Yes, they're a big name club, but but I'm gonna have a little quick look at Serie A for a minute. I haven't followed out the standings. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now now 3 of them are making up the top 4 there, but Atalanta and Napoli are in the mix as well. Inter, I will say, do look like they are doing very well this season, but be clear about this. Some of these clubs in Italy, for a long time in Italy, Inter and AC Milan over the last 10 years, are not even doing well in their own blooming domestic leagues. That seems to have changed recently. But I find it somewhat ridiculous that they would be even, that they are. Yeah, that's I think another thing. I just find the arrogance of this, that they feel that some of these clubs feel they have a God-given right to be in some elite competition. They really don't. I'd say probably if I look at La Liga, I probably guess that I would probably guess that those those three clubs probably are the top three at the moment. And yes, they are. That doesn't surprise me so much. I mean, occasionally you used to get Valencia and Deportivo, Athletic Bilbao in the mix with them. But I think over the last, but one time Atletico Madrid were definitely not part of this this thing at all. Anyway, I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep going because I've ranted on about this for quite a while now. But now, yeah, I don't, my basic thoughts on this is I know, football has been absolutely screwed for a long time now, but this is kind of a step too far, in my opinion. I feel this has gone on this is going a step too far. Now I know in a lot of senses that the 12 that have already signed up to this, kind of in a way, are the clubs that do, by and large, have an advantage in their own domestic leagues as it is. But this is a step too far, and this will kill domestic football competitions in Europe. This is my opinion on this. This is how I feel. Because there is no way that there is no way that this will not mean that eventually these clubs will break from their domestic leagues if this goes ahead. There's no way that can't happen. I think I've ranted on about this enough. And as I said, I'm the only one who gives a shit in this in the sort of atheist YouTube community about sport anyway. So I think I've ranted on for long enough. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Salute.